what's happening around the world
and what's happening here at home. A very good evening. You're watching Prime Time News on TV1. Bringing you the news, I'm Mariam Kanavijaya.
and I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance was awarded the Best Finance Company for the third consecutive year.
Mahinda and Sajid join Indian High Commissioner at Mayurapati Kovil. Motorcade carrying water from Sarayu River in Ayodhya heads to Sita Elia. Heavy rainfall heightens risk of landslides in Karadagolla. Police record statements from Prasanna Ranavira over assault on airport worker. Former Minister Dilan claims a general election will be called for instead of a presidential poll. Economic Transformation Bill and Public Finance Management Bill to be presented to Parliament on 22nd May.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance was awarded the Best Finance Company for the third consecutive year.
Today, the procession of offerings for the Kumbha Abhishekam Puja began its journey from the Mayurapati Kovil in Colombo, destined for the Sita Amman Kovil in Nuwara.
A group of special representatives recently brought holy water from the Sarayu River in Ayodhya, India, considered the birthplace of Lord Rama, to Sri Lanka for the Kumbha Abhishekam festival. These offerings, including bowls containing the sacred water, were deposited at the Mayurapati Kovil in Colombo yesterday. Today, after a special puja, the procession carrying the offerings began its journey. Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Santosh Jha, Opposition Leader Sajid Premadasa and former President Mahinda Rajapaksa were also present at this event. The offerings are being taken to Sita Elia in a special procession. The motorcade carrying offerings reached the Rambuda Hanuman Kovil today. Tomorrow, the motorcade will travel to the Sita Amman Kovil in Sita Elia, Nuwara. It is believed that this temple is located in the jungle areas where Princess Sita was held after being brought to Sri Lanka.
Heavy rainfall has heightened the risk of landslides in the Karadagolla area of Alla in the Badula district. As a precautionary measure, the National Building Research Organization closed the Alla Vallabaya road from 6 p.m. yesterday until 6 this morning.
The Disaster Management Centre has reported that heavy rainfall in Alla is causing earth embankments to collapse onto the Karadagolla road. Since the 26th of April, the risk of landslides has escalated in this region due to persistent rain. This is how landslides have affected Karadagolla. The Badula District Disaster Management Centre has reported a severe threat to people's lives due to a landslide affecting an area of nearly 15 acres. In response, the National Building Research Organisation has advised 15 families residing in the area to evacuate immediately.
නිදිම මහාගල් ගස් පෙරලෙනවා විශාල ගස් පෙරලිලා තියෙනවා අපිට ඕන මේක කිසිම කෙනෙකුට හානියක් නොවෙන්න රජයේ මැදිහත් වීමකින් හරි මේ වෙලා මේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ ජීවිත බේරලා මේ වෙන හානිය අවම කරලා දෙන්න කියලා තමයි ඉල්ලන්නේ.
According to the Badula District Secretary, ongoing explorations aim to identify long-term solutions by compiling the necessary technical work for addressing the underground water issue.
In the event of heavy rainfall, landslide activity will increase, while also increasing the risk of landslides and rockfalls on this road. Therefore, we urge drivers and travellers using the Alla-Vallavaya road to exercise extreme caution during the rainy season. If you choose to use alternative routes, you will receive enhanced security for your journey and safety. Should the rain conditions intensify, the roads may be temporarily closed. We will provide updates on this situation at very short notice. We kindly ask the public to stay informed and alert.
The duty engineer at the Polgola Mahavali Dam said that 4,201 cubic feet of water is being released per second to the Victoria Reservoir from 2 sluice gates due to heavy rains experienced in the catchment areas in the upper Mahavali zone. Last night, authorities decided to open 8 sluice gates of the Rajangani Reservoir. Approximately 9,600 cubic feet of water is being released per second to the Kalawaya.
State Minister Prasanna Ranavira implicated in an alleged assault incident at Bandaranaike International Airport last Tuesday morning, and he provided statements to Sri Lanka Police today.
State Minister Prasanna Ranavira had assaulted a worker at the Katanaike International Airport last Tuesday morning. CCTV footage captured the State Minister physically confronting an airport employee. During the subsequent inquiry, Minister Ranavira acknowledged that the altercation occurred when his wife was departing from Katanaike Airport. The dispute reportedly centered around the amount demanded by the worker for transporting the baggage of the State Minister to the passengers terminal. The worker had allegedly requested 2,000 rupees, leading to an argument that escalated into an altercation. State Minister Ranavira claims that he was asked for 2,000 rupees, which he deemed unfair. The disagreement escalated, resulting in the physical altercation. After the CCTV footage of the incident became public, the Katanaike Airport Police launched an investigation and recorded statements from the State Minister. Sri Lanka Police said that a statement was recorded for around 45 minutes.
සිදුවීම සම්බන්ධව කට උත්තරයක් ගන්න කියලා පොලිසියෙන් එන්න කියලා තිබ්බා. මම ඒකට එදා සිදුවීම පිළිබඳව පොලිසියට කරුණු වාර්තා කළා.
ඔය ඇමතුමා එතකොට දැන් මේ පහට ලක්ව පුද්ගලයා තාම වැඩට ආවිලත් නැහැ. ඌ හොයාගන්නත් විදියක් නැහැ. ඔබතුමා තර්ජනය කරාද? මම ඉතින් එහෙම තර්ජනය කරන මිනිස්සෙක් නෙමෙයි. ඒ මිනිස්සයාගේ හදවත දන්නවා මොකද සිදු වුනේ සම්බන්ධ. ඔබතුමාලා තමයි මේක මේ වැඩි කරන්නේ. නෑ ඇමතුමා දැන් එතුමා මේ ඒ පහට ලක්ව පුද්ගලයාට ආපහු රස්සාවට එන්න පුළුවන් නේද? ඉතින් මේ මිනිස්සයා මොකෝ පවුනේ මිනිස්සුන්ට එන්න දෙපෑ රස්සාව කරන්න එපා මිනිස්සු ජීවත් වෙන්න එපා. ඔබතුමා මේ ඉදිරියේදී බලපෑම් එහෙම කරන්නේ නැහනේ. ඕගොල්ලෝ හොඳටම දන්නවනේ මම කවුද කියන්නේ මම එහෙම කරන පුද්ගලයෙක් නෙමෙයිනේ. ඕගොල්ලෝ රේටින් වැඩි කරගන්න වැඩ කරන්නේ. හැබැයි ඔබතුමා මේ කරපු වැඩෙන් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට අගෞරවයක් නේද? ඒක සාමාන්‍ය හොඳ නැති වැඩක් තමයි සිදු වුනේ ඒක.
The People's Movement for a Law-Abiding and Just Society commented on the matter.
The State Minister has absolutely no legal right to assault anyone. If this assault was committed by an ordinary person, that person would have been arrested and produced in court. Even though State Minister Prasanna Ranavira carried out the assault and that assault was reported by the media, no legal action was taken against him. The State Minister has admitted that he assaulted that man. The IGP and the Defence Minister state that the law will be implemented equally to all. We request the IGP and the State Defence Minister to do and publicly arrest the State Minister and produce him in court.
The Alut Piyapath organisation filed a complaint at the police headquarters regarding Minister Prasanna Ranavira.
2 weeks ago, a young lawyer experienced an incident at the airport due to a visa issue. He stood up for his rights. However, the minister in charge of public security, Tiranalis, said that action would be taken against the lawyer for behaving disruptively at an international airport. The lawyer was subsequently taken into police custody. The public, particularly young people, are now waiting to see how the legal system will handle this situation.
Minister of Public Security Tiruvannamalai stressed that regardless of challenges or external influences, the existing program will persist and called for the collective support of all stakeholders. He made these remarks while speaking at an event in Bulletin.
Members of the Sri Lanka Police Community Police units from across the island were in Colombo for a meeting with the Minister of Public Security. We have to face many obstacles when implementing this program. We continue to face these obstacles. There are those who are ready to do whatever it takes to silence us and stop this program. I never faltered in the face of those challenges. I am determined to carry out this program despite threats to my own life. Those who oppose us have started to sling mud at us. However, I will not step away from this program to respond to them. When everyone in the country stood by us, that gave us strength, I called for this meeting to identify a group that I work with, and that will support our efforts. Yesterday, it was mentioned on social media that Deshabandhu Tennakon was forcing the police to send the members of these units into the meeting. You are aware whether the police is here or not. There was another claim which states that 7,000 rupees was collected from a police OIC for this event. Such is the attitude of some on social media, and they survive on such actions. They also survive on the underworld and the drug barons. There are politicians involved in this as well. The expenses for this meeting are borne by me and not by the state or the police. I did so because I wanted to create a team. Those who attended the meeting were given the opportunity to pose questions to the minister.
දැන් මද්‍රව්‍ය ජාවාවරම් කරු අපි නිසිලස හඳුනාගෙන ඉන්නවා. විශේෂයෙන් බොහෝ ප්‍රදේශවල ඒ ප්‍රදේශ ජනතාවට දන්නවා. අයි ඒ පිරිස අපි අධිකරණයට යොමු කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා අපිට කාලය නාස්ති වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අධිකරණයට යොමු කරන්නේ නැතුව යම් දඩුවම් දෙන්න පුළුවන් ක්‍රමවේදයක් තියෙනවාද? අපි Operation Yukti was not launched to arrest the users and addicts. I wanted to eliminate the drug distribution network completely. When that happens, the users will have no place to get their fix. That was our plan. When speaking of punishment, there is no alternative to directing the suspects to the courts. When I make certain comments, some called for my resignation. During the event in Katukurunda, I said that the weapons are given not to be left unused and to use them for the correct purpose. I assume that none here would say that I mentioned something wrong. However, some had written letters to the president calling for my removal. When the underworld roams into towns and cities on motorcycle and shoots people, should the armed police remain idle? There is a reason for weapons to be issued to the police and the military. We arrest and produce suspects in the court. At times the suspects are in jail for several months and later let out. At times when the suspects are jailed, their families take over the business. We are monitoring these events. When I say these, some tell the president to remove me. Do not assume that the president said something. The president is 100% with us in this program.
What's the next election?
As of now, there is speculation about the dissolution of Parliament. Concerns are also mounting over the possibility of a general election before the presidential election.
Amidst ongoing discussions, attention is on the parliamentary session scheduled for the day before Wesak Poya, that is the 22nd of May. The government has already emphasized the importance of passing critical legislative bills in the near future. Today, Parliament issued an announcement confirming the tabling of 2 such bills on the 22nd.
Committee on Parliamentary Business has decided to submit the Economic Transformation Bill and the Public Finance Management Bill to Parliament for the first reading on Wednesday, the 22nd of May. A notification issued by Parliament confirms that both bills have been gazetted on the 14th of May. In addition to the first reading, a debate on the adjournment motion is also scheduled to run from 9:45 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
Meanwhile, MP Dilam Perera says that Sri Lanka will hold the general election before the presidential election. He expressed these views at a media briefing held today.
අද බ්‍රේකින් නිවුස් එක තමයි මට ලැබිලා තියෙන ඉතාම විශ්වාස කටයුතු ආරංචි මාර්ග වලින් මට කියන්න පුළුවන්. මේ ජනාධිපති
Today's breaking news is news that I have received from the most reliable source. It is that the president is fooling the country by saying that a presidential election will be held. I bet a general election will be held first. The President has decided to hold the general election. The President, 2 MPs very loyal to the President, and a former MP, the 4 of them have made this decision. Everything is ready to implement that decision now. But they are fooling the whole country by focusing on presidential election. But I'm sure that they will first hold a general election. I will bet on anything. The main reason for that is according to the President's sources and data-driven, the Wickremesinghe government will definitely lose the election. Therefore, the President's plan is to hold the general election, create an unstable parliament, meaning a parliament where any party does not hold a majority, and then make deals. Just like he became president by entering parliament without the people's mandate, his plan is to do this and then figure his way out with the presidential election.
මචන්ලට දීලා ඉතින් එහාට වැඩේ ඇදගන්න පුළුවන් ද ජනාධිපතිවරණය වෙනකොට කියලා තුම කල්පනා කරනවා.
What's the next election?
MP Nama Rajapaksa expressed these views in Matale today.
Regardless of the general election or presidential election being held first, we have no problem. We do not even mind if it's a provincial council or local government election that is held first. According to the constitution, the presidential election must be held. The government is attempting to implement certain unsuitable policies. It is our responsibility to oppose that. The principal government that we voted for, which we believed in when it was formed through the Argale, is no longer in power. We must now strive to protect its legacy and safeguard our national force, unity and resources in order to move forward. While we welcome investment, we strongly oppose the arbitrary alienation of national resources.
What's the next election?
State Minister Chamara Sampath Dasanayake said that he will extend his full support to President Ranil Wickremesinghe if he contests the upcoming presidential election.
I don't understand nor do I know what election the SLPP is contesting. Regardless of what election is held, first the people will cast their vote. The politicians will contest and the people will vote. The candidate is yet to be decided. We will support Ranil Wickremesinghe if he contests. I don't know about the SLPP's decision. I will personally support him. I do not care about who the other parties support. The party doesn't have to make decisions. We can personally support a candidate. He isn't contesting while representing a party. He is contesting as a non-partisan candidate.
Sri Lanka's former army commander, retired General Mahesh Senanayake, has joined with the Samagi Janabalawegaya.
Former Army Commander retired General Mahesh Senanayake and a group met with Opposition Leader Sajid Premadasa at the Opposition Leader's office today. Opposition Leader Sajid Premadasa has taken steps to appoint former Army Commander retired General Mahesh Senanayake as the Chief of the Samagi Ranaviru Balawegaya.
We prioritize duty over security. In the face of the economic crisis, which political party had the experience and resources to lead the recovery? While Samagi Janabalawegaya offers a strong alternative compared to a single leader, it's crucial to work together. Our goal is to create an environment conducive to economic recovery, which includes providing education and training to veterans, soldiers, sailors, airmen, police officers and civil defence personnel.
An event to commemorate the 15th anniversary of Sri Lanka's victory in the war was held in Colombo today under the auspices of Navbima Janata Party leader Dilith Jayavira.
The Api Venuwen Api War Heroes commemoration was held in Colombo. A group of retired members of the Triforce were present at the event.
I get to address you today because of the Api Venuwen Api War Heroes commemoration. In a time when achieving a military victory seemed like a distant dream, we encourage and motivate the Sri Lankan people to unite for this purpose. However, different groups also worked against this goal. We experienced this resistance both politically and in other ways. You understand that those of us who fought in the war are no longer capable of fighting. You know that Toppigala is not a jungle. You are also aware that you have been used at times to serve narrow political interests. We have a plan based on our discussions that can make a real difference in your lives. We hope to discuss this plan with you in more detail soon.
අපි සාකච්ඡා කරනවා. ඒ සඳහා අපිට වැඩපිළිවෙලක් තියෙනවා. අපි ඔබ සමග නුදුරු අනාගතයේදී සාකච්ඡා කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Oshla Herath, chairman of the Abhinava Nivahal Peramuna, speaking at a press conference, said that the law is not enforced yet against former State Minister Diana Gamage. Oshla Herath also filed a case in which Diana Gamage lost her parliamentary seat.
As of today, it has been more than a week since Diana Gamage, a British citizen, was removed from the parliament. The Supreme Court has given a verdict confirming that she is a British citizen. Even today, these legal departments have not implemented the law. Please don't let us go to court all the time. Please enforce the law. Otherwise, we will go to the court and enforce the law.
Newsfirst, with the people.
The Gampaha High Court acquitted and released 4 individuals, including Major General Arunatesha Priyagunavardhana, who were accused of killing 3 people and injuring approximately 50 others during a shooting incident involving a protest by local residents.
The protest demanding clean drinking water took place in Ratupaswala, Gampaha on the 1st of August 2013. The court ruled that the Attorney General failed to establish the charges against all the accused beyond reasonable doubt.
On the 1st of August 2013, during a 5-day peaceful protest that began on the 27th July 2013, local residents were allegedly attacked and shot for demanding the removal of a factory due to a contamination of underground water from the factory and access to clean drinking water in Nadun Gamuwa, Gampaha. 3 people, including 2 school students, lost their lives in the incident, and approximately 50 others, including nearly 10 additional students, were injured. The brigadier and others faced over 90 charges, with nearly 70 witnesses listed during the trial. In response to the verdict, the Ratupaswala victims have announced their intention to request the Attorney General to appeal the High Court's decision to the Supreme Court.
Ukrainian media reported that Ukrainian armed forces managed to capture mercenaries from Sri Lanka in the area of Chasiv Yar in the Donetsk region.
The spokesperson for the Operational Strategic Group of Troops, Kotisha, Lieutenant Colonel Nazar Voloshin, stated that the Ukrainian armed force managed to capture mercenaries from Sri Lanka in the area of Chasiv Yar in Donetsk region. The Ukrainian media report noted that the Russian army faces a shortage of personnel for the war against Ukraine due to the significant losses it suffers on the battlefield. Therefore, the Kremlin is recruiting mercenaries from other countries to bolster its occupation forces. Reports have emerged from various parts of Sri Lanka regarding former members of the armed forces who have gone missing after being deployed to Russia. 13 individuals, including retired Sergeant Major Tushara Sampath Virakudi, left for Russia on February 16th. Relatives state that there has been no communication from any of the 13 individuals since the 12th of March. The situation remains concerning, and their last online presence was on that date. This was the last time that Sampath Virakudi was seen online.
මගේ මහත්තයා ගියේ මෙහෙම මේජර් බණ්ඩාර කියලා මෙහෙ පොතුහැරෙක් කෙනෙක් තමයි මගේ මහත්තයා මෙහෙම යැව්වේ. එයාලා දැන් අත්අඩංගුවේ ඉන්නේ. තව බන්දුල කියලා කෙනෙකුත් මේකට සම්බන්ධයි. මාසයක් කතා කරා. ඊට පස්සේ මාර්තු 12 තමයි අන්තිමට කතා කළේ. තායි කතා කළේ නෑ තාම අද වෙනකනවත්. අපි තාම හරියට දන්නේ නෑ. මොකද්ද උනේ කියන එක හරියට දන්නේ නෑ. වගකියුත්තන්ගෙන් අපි ඉල්ලනවා මේ රට බේරගත්තු රණවිරෝ ටික බේරලා දෙන්න කියලා.
Tushara Sampath Virakudi, a father of 2 residing in Algama, Varkapula, is among the missing Sri Lankan retired soldiers who were deployed to Russia. The Criminal Investigation Department has arrested 5 individuals in connection with this human trafficking case. Numerous complaints have been received regarding the missing soldiers. To date, 16 retired Sri Lankan soldiers have been confirmed to have lost their lives in the Russia-Ukraine war. State Minister for Foreign Affairs Tarak Balasuriya announced that a special delegation is prepared to travel to Russia to investigate the human trafficking case.
You and I are fortunate to have so much at our fingertips. But have you ever stopped to think about what it means to live without something as basic as water?
This story of the people of Nagavilla serves as a stark reminder. Not everyone enjoys the same privileges.
For hundreds of villages like Nagavilla in Puttlam, water scarcity is a harsh reality. Imagine surviving on farming and daily labor, but not having a single drop of water to quench your thirst or fulfill your daily needs. Their pleas for help went unheard for far too long. But today, things finally changed. Gammatha, along with the Next Manufacturing Private Limited, built a lifeline for Nagavilla, a brand new water purification system.
This project is for you, the members of the local community. I do have to say that we've got the relatively simple part in terms of providing the funding, but the real hard work, and I think the largest thanks and the token of appreciation from me on behalf of Next has to go to both Gammatha and the Sri Lankan Navy for actually pulling the whole thing together and making it work in a very short sort of time frame. So it is with great pride that we hand over this facility to you, the members of the local community today, in the real belief that it will provide a better future, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to clean fresh drinking water.
The first few projects of Gammatha were completed under tremendous difficulties, but with time, the people began to support us. The state service began to help us. Established corporates and institutes began joining hands with Gammatha. And today, the global community has followed suit. Gammatha, which had humble beginnings, is now an internationally recognized movement. We believe in supporting communities, but we also believe in building a future. You will see a major Gammatha global initiative bringing global leaders to Sri Lanka next month.
Because of Gammatha, Sri Lanka's most impactful rural development movement, Nagavilla is finally free from the tyranny of thirst. Tomorrow, a whole village will wake up to the same blessing as you and I: clean drinking water.
The cup erecting ceremony for the commencement of the Sirasa Namami Sirasa Vesak zone took place early this morning at the auspicious time of 6:31.
The Sirasa Namami Sirasa Vesak zone will take place on the 23rd, 24th, 25th and 26th of May. To mark the beginning of this event, the cup erecting ceremony took place at the MTV MBC head office premises located at Braybrook Place, Colombo. Dharmasiri Bandara Ekanayaka, the director of Sirasa TV, and other officials participated in the ceremony. This year, Sirasa Namami Sirasa Vesak zone will feature a Sarvaknya relics display as well as a display of the Agrashravaka relics of Saryut and Mugalan. In addition, sacred relics unearthed during excavations in Mihintale will also be on display.
Valuable Finance was awarded the Best Finance Company for the third consecutive year.
The International Monetary Fund said on Thursday that Sri Lanka's overall program performance has been strong. Julie Kozak, Director of Communications at the International Monetary Fund, speaking to reporters in Washington, D.C., noted that Sri Lanka's macroeconomic policies are beginning to yield positive results.
This was in response to a question posed by Newsfirst Zulfik Farzan.
What is the status regarding Sri Lanka's review that is supposed to be taken up with the executive board? And also, there have been comments being made in Sri Lanka's political stage about revisiting the IMF program or changing the agreement. Could you please elaborate on that?
So just giving the stepping back and giving the lay of the land, on March 21st of this year, the IMF staff and the Sri Lankan authorities reached a staff-level agreement for the second review of the program, and also concluded and also finished the Article 4 mission. Completion of the review by the executive board of the IMF requires two things. First is implementation by the authorities of the agreed prior actions, and the second is completion of the financing assurances review. And that would confirm multilateral partners' financing contributions, and the financing review will also assess adequate progress with debt restructuring. With respect to Sri Lanka's economic performance, macroeconomic policies in Sri Lanka are starting to bear fruit. Commendable outcomes include a rapid decline in inflation, robust reserve accumulation, and initial signs of economic growth, while also preserving stability in the financial system. Overall, program performance has been strong. The next steps with respect to the debt restructuring are to conclude negotiations with external private creditors and to implement the agreements in principle with Sri Lanka's official creditors. The domestic debt operations are largely completed. The initial debt restructuring negotiations with external bondholders ended in mid-April without an agreement, and discussions are continuing with a view to reaching agreement in principle. And on the official creditor side, these agreements in principle still need to be finalized.
Publicfinance.lk reports that by the end of April 2024, Sri Lanka has not met 30% of its due IMF commitment, which translates to a total of 19 unfulfilled obligations. The majority of these unmet commitments pertain to enhancing transparency and enacting legislation.
A public lecture on external debt management in developing countries took place at the central bank.
If you don't have economic growth, and if you have higher interest rates compared to the economic growth, automatically you will have an increase of your debts. This is typically the snowball effect that we will see just after. So over the last 3 years, we have a number of sovereign debt defaults in developing countries, 2020, 2021, 2022. And so we need to compare with another period. And in fact, this is the same number as the previous 2 decades. So we can explain by such explosive factors that we have. So we have defaults and we have situation of over-indebted. According to the World Bank, we have 28 countries worldwide and 11 in situation of over-indebted. So such question of external debt management, external debt sustainability is important for a lot of developing countries, but this question too is important for developed countries if we focus about the public debt sustainability.
Melinda Morogoda says oppressive tax policies are undermining Sri Lanka's economic recovery.
Melinda Morogoda, the founder of the Pathfinder Foundation, noted that Sri Lanka's present oppressive tax regime is undermining the country's economic growth agenda. He warned that while the demand compression it has created has to an extent stabilized the economy, it has made the poor more destitute and is driving the middle class towards poverty. Morogoda said that adversely affected professionals, skilled workers and others are reluctantly leaving the country in large numbers, exacerbating the brain drain and reducing our workforce. Morogoda said that this tax regime is counterproductive to economic growth and unsustainable. All forecasts indicate that Sri Lanka will not be able to grow at more than 3% for the next 8 years or so. If this situation is to be corrected, the rate of taxation will have to be brought down, he said, adding that, however unpalatable it may be, this can only be achieved through a combination of deep reforms that will lead to small government, accelerated privatization, large-scale foreign investment, increased connectivity at both a regional and global level, and in general general, creating a more business and investment-friendly climate. Milinda Murugoda went on to note that especially for countries like Sri Lanka, which have a bloated government sector, the path of least resistance is to increase revenues through taxation and tariffs to meet their day-to-day requirements to avoid long-needed reforms that go to the root of the problem.
A UN Human Rights Office report released today says that Sri Lanka's government must take meaningful action to determine and disclose the fates and whereabouts of tens of thousands of people who have been subjected to enforced disappearances.
The UN Human Rights Office report calls on the government of Sri Lanka to acknowledge the involvement of state security forces and affiliated paramilitary groups in enforced disappearances and to issue a public apology. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk said this report is yet another reminder that all Sri Lankans who have been subjected to enforced disappearance must never be forgotten. He said that the government owes it to all those who have been forcibly disappeared, and it is critical for these crimes to be investigated fully. The report says that despite some positive formal steps by successive governments, such as the ratification of the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance, the establishment of the Office on Missing Persons and the Office for Reparations, tangible process on the ground towards comprehensively resolving individual cases has remained limited. It adds that many women who have been at the forefront of efforts to find the disappeared have themselves been subjected to violations, including harassment, intimidation, surveillance, arbitrary detention, beatings and torture at the hands of army and police. The report says that despite the passage of nearly 15 years since the end of the armed conflict and many decades since the earliest waves of enforced disappearances, Sri Lankan authorities are still failing to ensure accountability for these violations.
A Sri Lankan-born refugee has become the mayor of Ipswich in the UK. He's the first person born in Sri Lanka to become mayor of Ipswich, and he has lived and worked in many countries before settling.
The new mayor of Ipswich is a refugee from Sri Lanka. At the annual meeting of the Ipswich Borough Council on Wednesday, the 15th of May, the new mayor of Ipswich for 2024 to 2025 was confirmed as Councillor Elango K. Elavalagan. During the mayor-making ceremony, Councillor Elavalagan was invested with a chain of office and mayoral robes. Sri Lankan-born Elavalagan has lived in Ipswich with his wife, Manjula, since 2006 after working in India, Uganda and Rwanda before settling in the UK. The mayor has worked as an engineer and manager and currently runs his own business. The mayor said he was honoured to be nominated as mayor of Ipswich, a nomination that he received with humility and pride. Councillor Elavalagan has been a St John's Ward councillor since 2014, representing residents in that area of Ipswich. He lives with his wife Manjula, who he married in 1998 in Sri Lanka.
Forbes announced the 9th edition of its 30 Under 30 Asia list, and it features Sri Lankan actress Dinara Punchiheva.
Forbes announced the 9th edition of its 30 Under 30 Asia list, featuring 300 young entrepreneurs, leaders and trailblazers across the Asia-Pacific region. All 300 in the list are under the age of 30, who are leading the transformation of industries and finding innovative ways to navigate new business realities in the region. Among them is Sri Lankan actress Dinara Punchiheva. Dinara burst on the Sri Lankan cinema scene in 2018 by writing, acting and directing her own short film Mala, which was screened at international film festivals and caught the attention of Sri Lankan filmmaker Prasanna Withanage, who cast her in Gadi films. Punchiheva, a graduate of Queen Mary University of London, went on to found Punchi Actors, a non-profit that introduces children from low-income families to theatre and acting.
The third phase of the LOLC Divi Savya program, aimed at empowering Sri Lanka's future generation, kicked off today on day 13.
Today's program was centered around Nekavarati Education Zone in the Kurunegala district. Under the Divi Savya program, exercise books and stationery equipment required for a year are distributed free of charge to government schools with less than 150 students. Accordingly, school bags and stationery equipment were donated to students of Navina Kanishta Vidyalaya, Tambilikola Kanishta Vidyalaya, Walpala Kanishta Vidyalaya, Nelumgala Primary School, Kudaravali Kanishta Vidyalaya and the Kalegama Kanishta Vidyalaya. School bags and stationery equipment were also distributed to students at the Nekavarati Authority's Zonal Education Office this morning. The LOL Siddhivisavya program continues to forge ahead for the future generation of Sri Lanka.
Up next is A World Today.
Israel has accused South Africa of bringing biased and false claims to the UN's top court in an attempt to force it to stop its military campaign in the town of Rafah in southern Gaza. The International Court of Justice began 2 days of hearings yesterday when South Africa told the court that Israel intended to wipe the Palestinians off the face of earth, calling Rafah the final stand. Lawyers for Israel are presenting their response to the court today. The court is already considering a case brought by South Africa in January accusing Israel of committing genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza. Israel has rejected the claim as false and grossly distorted. In its latest application, South Africa is also seeking to force Israel to allow unimpeded access to Gaza for aid workers, journalists and investigators. The US military has confirmed that the first aid shipment via a temporary pier off Gaza has gone ashore. US Central Command confirmed in a post on X that the aid trucks began moving ashore at about 9 o'clock local time. The US began building the floating base weeks ago to facilitate the delivery of aid to Gaza as Israel continues its military campaign against Hamas. On Wednesday, it was reported that hundreds of tons of aid had arrived in Cyprus, where screening takes place before being loaded on to ships for delivery to the pier. Smaller US military vessels capable of carrying between 5 and 15 lorries of aid will then transport it to a floating pier several hundred meters long, fixed to the beach in Gaza. Lorries will travel along the pier before dropping off the aid at marshalling yard in the beach. Authorities said the UN, primarily the World Food Programme, will be responsible for the onward distribution of aid. North Korea has fired at least one unidentified ballistic missiles, Seoul's military said, hours after leader Kim Jong-un's powerful sister denied widespread allegations that Pyongyang is shipping weapons to Russia. Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff said North Korea fired unidentified ballistic missiles towards East Sea, referring to the body of water also known as the Sea of Japan. Japanese media, citing government sources, said the missile appeared to be short-range and has already fallen. The launch came hours after Kim Yo-jong accused Seoul and Washington of misleading the public opinion on the issue with their repeated accusations that Pyongyang is sending weapons to Moscow for use in Ukraine.
Up next is the Road to World Cup segment.
The ICC T20 World Cup.
This moment is all that I've been dreaming of. Well, focus. Somewhere I feel it in my soul.
The 2014 ICC World 2020, the fifth edition of the tournament, was hosted by Bangladesh. This marked the second time an Asian country hosted the T20 World Cup. It was also the first time the decision review system, also known as the DRS, was implemented in a T20 World Cup. This tournament held immense significance for Sri Lanka. It presented Sri Lanka with an opportunity to reclaim the World Championship title for the second time, having previously finished as runners-up twice. In a thrilling final played in Dhaka, the Indian team led by Mahendra Singh Dhoni fell short against Sri Lanka, captained by Lasith Malinga. Chasing India's target of 131 runs set after they batted first, Sri Lanka emerged victorious by 6 wickets, losing only 4 wickets in the process. Finally, reaching the pinnacle at the Dhaka Stadium, the Sri Lankan team were crowned world champions in front of a roaring crowd of over 26,000 jubilant spectators.
In my soul, in my champion thing. One chance is everything we've waited for. Right now, it's our time, so let we take it home. Remember the name.
The ICC T20 World Cup.
And with that, we wrap up news for tonight.
Thank you very much for joining us. Good night and take care.